Welcome back to the Anything and Everything podcast. I got a special guest today. I would like to introduce this man as a school father for me throughout my last couple of years of high school. A man that I look up to greatly, the Coach Murray Garvin.
What's up, Manny? Happy to be on the show, man. I feel like I'm entering on the ground floor because it's going to blow up and you're going to be a superstar one day. So I'm delighted to be your guest, man.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that the most. So first thing I want to go over is just kind of the introduction on how you and me met. I believe it started when you got the coaching job at Paul Laurence Dunbar High School. And I mean, I had known of you just from that, and through Tyler and some guys on the team who I was friends with at the time, telling me a lot about you, and me kind of coming to the games a lot. And then it kind of just progressed from there, and started becoming, honestly, just someone who I could go talk to during the day if I needed to. So, I mean, what would you say is one of those moments where you looked at me and you were like, this kid's a knucklehead, but I think I like him a little bit?
Well, I never knew the knucklehead aspect, but I will tell you this. Working at Dunbar, a lot of students living in South Carolina for about 20 years, in the Carolinas per se, and then coming back to Dunbar reminded me of my high school days back in Pikeville. Mm-hmm. So meeting a lot of students at Dunbar, it's like each of you all took on friends that I grew up with, and you reminded me of guys that I grew up with back home. Like Tyler Gadd, I used to tell him it was hard for me to get mad at him as a coach because he favored and had the personality of my best friend growing up.
Yeah.
So it was always hard for me to get mad at Gadd because I would start laughing because he reminded me of my best friend. And then you reminded me of another guy that I grew up with, that we were all friends, and it was your sense of humor and your wit. And as an adult, I like people around me that make me smile, that make me laugh and make me smile. You have a gift, young man. And from day one, when you told me that you wanted to start a podcast or do some type of sketch comedy, I believed it because you have a natural gift to make people smile. Now, I also understood that there is a knucklehead side, but I never met that.
Yeah, no, Tyler always used to come to me after practices, and he would always tell me, he goes, Coach Garvin, he can get mad. He said, I know he's real mad, though, when he gets mad at me and he's serious about it, because he usually, whenever he gets mad at me, he's got a little chuckle behind it. He's got a little smile. When he really yells at me, I know I need to start running. I need to start hitting the stairs. So yeah, he always told me about that. And then from, Tyler kind of going to your room, saying hi, and then me kind of coming with him sometimes and seeing you at the basketball games, it kind of turned into me, stopping by your room every day or every other day, and just having conversations that I think, at least for me, meant a lot through a lot of those times, that last year-ish or so, year or two of high school, where, there's some times that, whether I was going through stuff or I just needed someone to give me advice that I felt like I could only get from certain people. And I think you were one of those people who helped me and made me really ask myself questions about myself. You know what I mean? It made me think. The way you would talk to me and tell me things made me go home sometimes and really think on, how I need to change to be, not saying I was to be a better person than I know I could be. You challenged me in some of those questions you gave me, and you really made me think on some points. And I just always appreciated being able to come to your room, be able to have a conversation, be able to, whether it was serious sometimes or sometimes it was just two dudes just talking about basketball. There was just a connection that I knew instantly that I greatly, appreciate still being able to have that right now.
Yeah, it was cool, man. I appreciated you coming by, man. And to be honest with you, coming from the college level and coming to high school, sometimes my biggest struggle was I didn't get to connect with my guys as much as I would have liked because of the restrictions of class. And, on the college level, you could see your guys all day long.
Right.
And I missed the conversations outside of practice with my players. So even though you didn't play for me, I respected your knowledge of the game,
Right.
Your enthusiasm, and you always wanted to know. You like to ask questions, and I never minded that about you. And then just the conversations would go from basketball to life. And my motto that I live by is the next generation should benefit from us being here. And
Right.
if there's something that's happened in my life that I could transfer to the next guy coming behind me, I want to give that up because I don't want you to have to touch the stove to know that it's hot. I'm going to go ahead and share what I know and what I've experienced. If I haven't lived it, coaching for 27 years, I've probably coached a young man that's lived it. So.
Right. Now, to what you said on that point of, if you can give someone advice before they touch the stove and know it's hot, do you think, though, that sometimes that's necessary for, kids in my generation, kids my age or even younger, to sometimes have to touch the stove to really understand, I got to start, kicking it into overdrive. I got to start light a fire up my behind. But is that necessary, you think, in some matters of life? Or do you think you should there's always somebody that can help you avoid that?
Well, all of us are a little bit stubborn, and then we go through the period where we feel invincible, like we can get through it. Or, I've even heard people say, "Oh man, you're old. You had fun, coach. You didn't do this or you didn't do that."
Right.
And there's not as many students sometimes that you feel comfortable sharing your true story with. And whether you're gonna take my advice or not, if we get on the level that we could really talk as men,
right,
I'm going to tell you some things that you might want to avoid. Now, what you choose to do with it is up to you, but I don't feel that I should just not tell you and let you go through it. There's times that I would do something when I was your age, and I had a coach that was very influential in my life that I would say, man, coach used to talk about this, and here I am doing the same dumb thing. So I think as young men, a lot of times we do want to touch the stove just to see if it applies to us. But if we can avoid it, or if something just goes off in your head and you say, man, I talked to coach about this. I should take part in this. Maybe that's what I'm looking for, because you're going to do what you want to do anyway.
Right. But the point of at least offering the advice out there, the point of at least, telling someone, what you've been through to help them is enough sometimes that even if, they don't listen right away, like you said, it kind of comes back to them in a future situation where they're like, I remember coach telling me that. I remember that person telling me that. I remember them telling me that. Yeah. And I think after a while, for some people, and I think maybe guys a little bit more, I think men a little bit more, it takes a little bit more to kind of get through to us.
Right.
But I think once it gets through, it sticks.
Yeah, it's like planting a seed, man.
Right.
It's like planting a seed. And when I was young in coaching, I wanted results immediately.
Right.
But sometimes, there's a saying that my grandfather used to tell me was, every day is not a harvest. So that means you got to put seed in the ground, and it could be 10 years down the road. And you say, man, I had this conversation with coach. So it's just something that I try to do, man, because, again, a coach influenced my life, and I just try to reciprocate that back.
Right.
Like I said, to the next generation.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you kind of said, I never had you as a personal coach. And there's definitely been some coaches, I would say, that have, made an impact on me. But even not having you as a coach in just a sports aspect, you taught me a lot. without even me playing basketball, stuff that I could take into football practice or just into life. So, you said that you had coaches that, you looked up to. I want to let you know that you're my coach for that. You're my coach for that, even though I didn't have you. But the thing I want to hop into right now is, so I have a couple questions. So you coached at South Carolina State.
Right.
From 2012, 2011 to 2021, correct?
Uh-huh.
What would you say, there was a lot of hard times you have to go through, whether it's COVID or just, I feel like over the last, 10, 15 years, there's just been a lot of stuff going on in the world. What do you think is the biggest takeaway you had from coaching at that level and those guys around you that you still hold with you today from just coaching aspect?
The biggest thing was I tried to enjoy my guys. I tried to make sure that our experiences were bigger than just basketball.
Right.
We did some pretty neat things as a basketball team, whether it be back to school rallies or bashes, or when we traveled to major cities, we would do something touristy per se.
Right.
We played in Seattle, played the University of Washington one year, and we went to Pike's Fish Market. And I actually got video of where they threw the tuna, and I caught the tuna.
Oh, you just caught it.
Yeah. We did that as a team. When we played in Memphis one year, we went to the Martin Luther King Lorraine Hotel and that museum, which was a powerful, that was really strong. And then when we played in DC, we would go to the different memorials and the different landmarks in Washington, DC. So I tried to make sure that our experience was bigger than ball. When we played in San Francisco, we went to the Golden Gate Bridge and we took pictures out there.
Oh, wow.
New York, we went to Times Square.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have a bigger influence than just games.
Right.
Never forget, we flew into Syracuse, New York, Manning, and there was like 2 feet of snow on the ground. And I had guys from the South that had never seen
snow. Yeah.
So they were outside playing in the snow, and it was like 30 inches of snow on the ground. We didn't think we were going to have a game, and, we ended up playing Syracuse in the Carrier Dome. It was life experience. Some of it was a bucket list for me, man.
Right.
Playing in some of these arenas and coaching against some of the guys that I was able to coach against. Mm-hmm. Even met your father. He was broadcasting a game versus Texas A&M one year.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but the night before the game, the broadcast team meets with the coaches.
Right.
To get notes from coach, maybe a story. And your father and I, he didn't realize I was from Kentucky. And so we talked for a long time, and he got on the phone and started calling people back in Kentucky. And, we developed a friendship through that, which was crazy because we played a really good game at Texas A&M. And I really felt like your father, it was your dad and Will Purdue were the broadcast team.
Okay, yeah.
And your dad was really impressed with how we played and I guess how we were prepared and coached. And he was trying to get games versus the University of Kentucky for me. I mean, it was immediate. I mean, like, Coach, we got to get you back to Kentucky. We want you to come play the Cats. And the story is that didn't happen until 2 years ago when I was coaching at Dunbar. South Carolina State actually came and played the University of Kentucky because they were so limited on their preseason games per se, or pre-conference games. Right. Sometimes it took a year or two in order to make that happen.
To kind of kick it in.
They got a game with UK, which was one of my that was a dream game for me to come back and play against the University of Kentucky. But it didn't happen under my watch, but I was able to see the game anyway.
Still be able to appreciate that it ended up coming through.
Right. But, just all those experiences, Manning, if you would say one that really impacted me a lot, it was COVID.
Yeah.
When the pandemic hit, that was the craziest coaching year of my life. And
Yeah.
it had a lot to do with me being back in Kentucky.
Right.
You know, we could talk for an hour just on the COVID year, but
yeah.
I will say this. When the pandemic first hit, we had lost in our conference tournament in the quarterfinals, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so our season was over. The next day, they canceled the tournament.
Yeah.
Okay. And we were in Norfolk, Virginia. So they canceled the tournament. And I remember our guys went home. Okay. They went back to South Carolina and they never came back to school. It kind of ended the school year. Well, that year we had 8 seniors. The next year coming, we had 10 new guys to Division I basketball.
Wow.
They were not able to come to school until like September the 19th.
Yeah.
And we did not get to practice until like early October,
Right.
with the season beginning in November.
Right.
And I had 10 new guys that year, and we were pretty bad.
Yeah.
And
I listened in actually to I found it you on a Sports Spectrum podcast talking about that. I listened to that the other day about you kind of talking about, you know, how COVID affected you, and how for how hard it was, it brought you a lot closer to your guys, and it also brought you a lot closer to God. One of the things that stuck with me is a quote you said in that podcast, and it says, "Do something bigger than your friends." Mm-hmm. You said that. You said you were driving on the side of the road and you pulled over, and you just had a moment where God was talking to you, telling you that you got to do something bigger than your friends. You got to do something bigger than you.
Yeah,
and
to a national deal. Go ahead.
That's what I was going to lead into, and that really, you know, kind of hit me because I feel like sometimes, you know, a lot of people are thinking about themselves, and during COVID, during that time where it was really, you were by yourself, you know what I mean? Like, unless you were at home with your family, you were really like, a lot of people felt alone during that time. So I kind of wanted you just to kind of graze what you did and how that became a national type of thing for you. Just kind of briefly go over that for me.
Yeah. Wow. You did your homework, man.
I did a little. Listen.
Yeah.
Listen, I know some things.
Yeah. So during COVID, I had an epiphany that hit me one day, and I think I was taking my wife to work, and I pulled over, and the Spirit told me, if you are struggling with something, someone else is having a hard time as well.
Yeah.
And think of others more than you think of yourself. Well, that led me to call a couple of people in the coaching world and sports ministry world, with the idea of a national day of prayer, you know, because I was on a bunch of committees when I was a Division I coach. And the conversation was that no coach should be let go during COVID because of their record.
Right.
And I was in the situation where we had stopped play and practices about 4 different times. Like I said, we came to school late. We didn't have the normal preseason. We had no summer school that summer that helps you prepare for the upcoming season and gets guys acclimated. I was in a contract year, meaning that at the end of the season, my contract was going to expire. And I was kind of feeling the pressure of, okay, are they going to keep me, or are they going to not renew my contract? And so I thought that if I'm going through this, there's other coaches that are in the same boat. So it started after I called some friends in the business. It started what is still going, and it's called the National Day of Prayer, okay, for college basketball. And it happens every March 1st, okay? And it is a broadcast that is streamed And it's really a day of prayer in March, because most people get caught up with March Madness.
Mm-hmm.
That's really a time that a lot of careers are ending for the athletes, and a lot of coaches are also impacted because their time may be up at the school that they're at.
Yeah.
You know, whether it be a contract, or they just get fired, or the head coach lets them go, or the head coach gets a job somewhere else and he can't take his staff. So
Right.
the month of March is very, very traumatic to both athletes and coaches in college basketball. So
Right.
started that day of prayer, man, and Clark Kellogg, he's involved with it. Some national people are involved with it,
Yeah.
and they still give me credit for the idea, but it's
Right.
way bigger than me now. Way bigger.
I mean, that's amazing. One thing that you, a word that you used to describe the people to, help you get this idea out was, you said you wanted to give it out to people called microwave people.
Yeah.
People who you give them an idea and they like it, they know you, and instantly they're broadcasting it out. They're telling people about it. They're telling anybody and everybody they can. And so, I think I think it's really amazing what you did with that. And like you said, you do, though, you almost have to give credit to the people who you always have to give credit to the people who help you along the way. Because, you can always start something, you can always do something, but you gotta give props where it's due to those people around you that help build you up to give you the opportunity to get those things. And that's what I like about you, coaches. You're always willing to give thanks to a lot of people, even if you're doing something great, even if it's you doing something, just you're always giving back. You're always saying around the people, you're very grateful for the people and the friends you have around you.
Yeah, man. Have you ever seen a turtle on top of a fence post?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Coach.
Well, if you ever do, realize that it didn't get there by itself.
Right. Right. And there's no way.
There's no way that turtle got there by itself. Somebody had to put it there. And that's the way I look at my life, man. I didn't get to where I'm going by myself. Someone has always had to open the door and give an opportunity. And I want to be the type of individual that opens the door and gives the opportunity to others. During COVID, I tell you something I started doing during COVID that I never dreamed about, man. I started hiking. So yeah, we were going to mountains. My wife and I, my family, we would go. We would go to a mountain and we would climb the mountain, whether it be Stone Mountain in Georgia or Black Mountain in North Carolina.
Right.
And what I realized when you're going up the mountain, Manning, that when you get to the top, there's a lot of room up there. So why are we pushing and screaming and trying to knock other people off when there's a ton of room at the top of the mountain?
Right.
And it's a humbling experience. When I was going up the mountain, I seen a lady pushing a stroller going up the mountain. And I was like, why would I complain? She's pushing a stroller. I'm just trying to get my big butt up the mountain. And she's actually carrying someone else. And then you'll see some people running, some people walking. Some people go up the other side of the mountain where it's harder to go up because they want to
challenge themselves.
A challenge. Yeah, they want more of a challenge. So they'll go up the other side of the mountain. And there's a lot of things that I picked up off of hiking that, resonate with me in my life, that there's a lot of room at the top, man. So why be selfish?
Right. I think there's a lot of people that look for success. And, I feel like in today's society, everything is measured. A lot of people, I think, believe that everything's measured through your bank account, right? I think a lot of people value money at such a high spot in their life. And to try to get to that spot, they're taking they'll take a handout, they'll take help from people. And then I see these people who, get all these things, get this money, get this, and it's just like, you're not giving back. You're you're not giving thanks to those people around you, because you didn't, like you said about the turtle, you didn't get there by yourself. There's no way. There's some people who are, self-proclaimed and, can do stuff a lot by themselves. But even if you didn't get to this earth by yourself.
Right.
Your mom did. You didn't raise yourself. Your mom, like, even those little things, people, I feel like, take for granted. And like you said about, there's so much room on top of that mountain. I don't understand why you wouldn't want people to succeed with you. Because if you're at that mountain by yourself, that's a lonely mountain. That's a lonely life.
Man. Yeah, that's a lonely place to be. And that's why I always want to be accessible. When you ask me to do this with you, see, to me, this is the mountaintop experience.
Right.
Why would I say no? I'm trying to help you. I'm going to make myself available.
Right.
And I wish that more people, and I'm not doing it to pat my own self on the back, but
right.
I have to live how I talk. And me to tell you that you're going to be famous one day, what, I wasn't going to take part in your journey? I mean,
right.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. As soon as you said, "Hey, I'd like for you to do this," I said, "Yes."
Listen, I know. Listen. I texted you and I was like, okay, he'll probably hit me back in about 30 minutes. I was getting in the shower and I get a call and I'm like, oh gosh, I get my towel on. I'm answering the phone and then you're like, FaceTime me and I'm in my towel and I'm like, just make sure we just show my face. I mean, I was like, but I mean, that's the type of person you are, where there's been times where, whether it's, you getting me out or you helping me getting out of some trouble at school, or, just always being there for me. You've always been there for me as someone who I know that if I need help, if I need advice, I can lean on. And I think, like we're talking about the people around you, I think friends are a really big aspect of moving through life, right? I think friends are who are there for you, who help you. And I wanted to run by this tweet today that Coach Prime tweeted out. Okay. And I want to hear your opinion on it. Right. He said, "You're so close, but still far off from where you want to be. Why? It's because of your decision-making, attitude, and people you call friends, and your effort towards life itself. You got to change now. Don't you want to soar, elevate, prosper, and win? Your time is now." What do you like from that? I really like that tweet myself. What do you get from that? And how do you translate that to your personal life?
That you only get a few. Okay. You only get a few friends, man. There's a lot of people that are in your life for a season or
right.
a reason, but there's very few that's in your life for a lifetime. And a lot of times we could put a lot of emphasis on who's my friend, and you really don't know who your friend is until they have nothing to gain from being around you. I mean, there's no financial gain, there's no popularity gain. You only have a few, man.
Right.
I've been on this earth for 49 years, and I have a lot of people that I'm associated with, but there's only been a few that I would really call friends, that have been there no matter what my status may be. And that tweet by Prime, I mean, it says a lot. I mean, I really do feel that your circle can influence what you do and how you think.
Right.
I know that when I'm around guys that talk about building per se, I'm thinking more of a building aspect or mindset. And when I'm around people that just laugh all the time, I'm just joking all the time. So your circle can impact what you think about and where you go in life. And it's something that I would tell young people, that choose your friends wisely is not a cliche statement.
Right.
I mean, it's very true that you have to choose people. Like, can you see yourself being around them 5 or 10 years from now?
Right.
Or is this just for a moment? Right. And then the people that are in your life for a moment, don't put so much stress on the situation, man. just realize this is a night. This is my college buddy, and a few of your college buddies will be lifetime buddies. Very
Right.
small number of your high school guys will actually be lifetime friends. That number just keeps shrinking as you get older.
Right. I was listening to somebody say that they were talking about, how a lot of times when you're young, when you're a young age and you meet these friends that you meet, whether it's, at 5, at 10, at 12, at 15, they're really just a lot of the times people that you happen to move in and there's somebody next to you, and that sprouts a friendship. And it can really lead to something, but kind of like you said, I feel like a lot of people my age, they're so used to those people that they had in middle school. They're so used to the people they had in high school. They're so used to these friends that, they might have had through these 5-6 years of, middle school, high school. And they're afraid of really going out and pursuing other things because that's what they're used to. That's what they've known for so long.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's called your comfort zone.
Right.
We all have a comfort zone. I think it's more important to establish mentors in the line of, or the career choice you may be thinking about going into. I think it's important to understand that you are probably a mentor to someone else, which make them your mentee. And then I think it's important to establish who your equal is. And that's someone that's the same age, that's got the same aspirations that you have. I think those 3 people are the most important people that you need to establish in your life that can help you. And that's being a mentor, having a mentee, and then finding an equal that's on the same journey and same path. That if you put emphasis on those 3 people, or it could be a collection of people, I think friends will come that you can value much more because you're moving in that space.
Right.
But what Prime said is so true, man. It is totally on us what we develop into. We all have scars per se from life.
Right.
But if it's a scar, that means you survived, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we all have scars. I have scars. I grew up single parent home. A lot of different stuff that I don't want to divulge, but it ain't been easy, man.
Right.
It hadn't been easy, and there was times that I didn't see that my life was going to turn out the way that it has. I didn't see that I was going to be married for 25 years and have 2 beautiful daughters, and I didn't see that. Because I didn't come from that.
Mm.
So if I can, you can.
Right. Right.
I'm nobody special, man. If I can come through it, you can come through it. You just have to find yourself. You have to make sure that you have some spiritual grounding. In my maturity, I don't believe that there's a certain way, Manning. I believe that you have to settle that with your own self. Whether you believe in God, whether you believe in Allah, whatever you want to worship, that's something that you have to settle with yourself. And I try not to pass judgment on anyone's belief. I just want you to believe in something. Because if you believe in something, I feel like that means that you have some submission of yourself.
Right.
And I believe that's up to the individual. I don't try to pass any judgment on anybody.
Yeah, I think everybody should have almost like a humility about themselves. I think there's so many people that think of themselves as, above others, as, oh, I'm above him, I'm better than him, I'm better than her, I'm better than everyone. They have this complex about them where they just think that they're over everyone else. Mm-hmm. And I think in the long run, that's going to come and bite you in the butt when that time that you don't have anybody around you and you feel at your lowest moment or you feel alone. I feel like it's always important to have somebody to turn to. Like you said, whether it's God, whether it's whatever you believe in. I think you always need someone that you can talk to that whether you feel like they're not listening at that moment, but just something to give you comfort in life, to help you go through those times where you don't really know what's next.
Right.
You don't really know what's going to happen. You don't really know who's there for you. If you have something you believe in, you always know something's there. You always know there's somebody looking down on you. There's someone that wants the best for you, even if it doesn't feel like it. If you believe, there is.
Right. Preach, Manning. Preach.
Right. Listen. Listen. I try.
Yeah. That's beautiful, man. That is the secret to life right there.
Right.
That is the secret that's not such a secret. You just have to seek it.
Yeah. You got to find it. You got to look for it. It's not going to come straight to you.
Right.
I got 2 last questions for you. Okay. We're gonna flip back a little bit to the more basketball side of this. So my first question is, do you feel as if coaching today is getting a lot better, a lot more advanced, or do you think the skill level of the players is getting better, and that's why you see such high productive teams? That's why you see all this talent. You see these teams that are really good. Do you think the coaching is getting better, or do you think the players are just leveling up as we move on?
I think it's an aspect of both. First of all, I never want to cut anybody's coaching. I mean, I've lost more games than I've won, and I feel like that I'm a pretty good basketball coach. But I will say this, and I've had this discussion, the skill level of players has increased threefold in the last 10 years. And the reason being, the internet has a lot to do with that.
Right.
See, 20 years ago, really 20 years ago, in order to become the best player, you had to be around the best coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the internet, you could find out the workout that LeBron James is doing.
Right. The diet,
and you can simulate that yourself now. And you can do it without a coach.
Right.
And that's what a lot of people are doing. They're looking at workouts that these professional athletes are doing, and then they start doing it at a younger age. You have these skill clinics all around every city you go to.
Right.
There's personal trainers and there's skill developers that are working with kids as young as 5 years old, that when I was a kid, in order to work out, you just went to the park. Sometimes you didn't have a gym. You just went to the park and you played.
Yeah.
Now you see 5-year-olds going to get individual instruction, and that's unbelievable, but that's what has improved the skill level of the players. So I will say, and I'm comfortable saying, I believe the skill level has surpassed the coaching.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a coach, your job is more so being a manager and staying on the innovative part of the game, staying up to date. Are you in analytics as a coach? Are you into positionless basketball? Can you coach 5 guys that have the same skill set, no matter their size? And can you manipulate the court to put your guys in advantage situations and to stay away from their disadvantage? So I believe that's what coaching has to deal with now, is more of, have you stayed up to date with the game and the nuances of the game that have advanced? You got 7-footers that can play the point guard spot now.
Right.
When I first started coaching, if you were over 6'6", you were probably playing the post.
Yeah. You're getting put in the paint.
Yeah. Now you could be the point guard at 6'9". It's all based on your skill level. So, that's a good question though. But I believe the skill has surpassed, per se, the coaching. And now the coaching, you're more of a manager more than a dictator, per se.
Right. I like that. I like that view a lot. My second question is, do you think, kind of like we said about, these, with social media, with stuff, with these players, looking at all these things, these other, whether it's professional players, whether it's someone just at a gym doing, some type of cool dunk, do you feel like the game of basketball has become too flashy and possibly has, as time has gone on, gotten too soft? Or do you think that they are just playing into how the game works nowadays?
Oh, well, you're talking about, see, I'm a 70s baby. So the evolution of the game of basketball has changed drastically over the course of my life. I wouldn't call it soft. I would just say it's different. You know, when I played and when, like I said, when I first started coaching, it was more of an inside out game. And I still believe the great teams play inside out. But inside may not be a post touch. It may just be a paint touch.
Right.
And kick out. The 3-point shot has changed the game drastically. When I first got into it, if you took 10 threes in a game, that was a lot. Now teams are taking 30 and 40. And you're looking at analytics, and that's changed everything about basketball. The size of the players, the nutritional factor that comes involved now. There's so much that has changed the game. I think the impact of social media and this little thing right here, I think it's added more pressure on the athlete.
Oh, yeah.
I really do. When you
got
look at
videos of
and ESPN.
Yeah.
ESPN has been a gift and a curse for athletes.
Right.
And the reason I say that is because now you have a generation that they don't watch the game. They watch the highlights in the morning.
Right.
And they see the guy dunking, but they don't see the screen that happened that opened him up for the lob.
Right. Or the 6 missed shots he took right before that when he went 0 for 6.
Right. Yeah, you don't see the process. And what the internet has done, it's made all of us think that we should have instant success and instant gratification, not just in sports, but in life in general. And no one wants to work for it anymore.
I think everything's going to be handed and gifted to them.
Or at a push of a button. And that's just not reality. And
not
there's
realistic.
a lot of people that are disillusioned by instant gratification. That there's a lot of work that goes into being a pro. And it's not just because you're tall. It's not just because who your father is or whatever. You have to put the work in. And sometimes if you are affiliated with someone that's come ahead of you, that's exceptional at what they do, it can be a gift and a curse.
Right.
Because there's an expectation put on you that really may not be fair.
Yeah.
Just because your dad did this, people expect, well, he's going to do this because his dad did this.
Right.
Or her mom was an Olympian. Well, you should be an Olympian.
Right.
And I'll tell you my own story. My wife was an All-American track runner at the University of Kentucky.
Oh,
neither one of our girls ran track.
Right. Right.
It had nothing to do with it.
It's just,
You have to make your own path.
Exactly.
Right.
I totally agree with that. The last thing I'm going to ask you today on this episode is, what do you think sports do for young men trying to grow up? What impact do you think sports have? And do you believe that most people should, at a young age, should do some type of sports? And how do you think that affects them in the long run of their life?
Okay. All right. How does sports impact young men or young people? I think it's one of the best things that you can get involved with is a team sport.
Right.
An individual sport, that grows you as an individual. But team sports, for me, has changed my life because it's taught me to work with a group of people that I may not know, but we come together for a common cause. We try to achieve that goal, and it causes us to have some sacrifice.
Right.
You have to sacrifice something in order to win that championship, or even say win the game. You may have to give up something that will cost you in order to get to where you want to go as a team. And I believe that carries over to life. It carries over to after the ball goes flat. you now understand what it's like to work with different people,
Right.
to achieve a goal.
Right. You
For
also build friends along the way that you can
it
have for
helps you
life.
build friendships. It helps you understand other cultures. I think the locker room is the greatest melting pot
Oh yeah.
you could possibly find, man. I grew up in Eastern Kentucky, and I remember in the locker room we had to share radio time. See, people didn't have headphones when I played. You had a stereo in the locker room, and I remember we went from hard rock music to country music to rap music, and that was all in 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I can sit here and sing AC/DC to you, okay? Being a black man, I know Back in Black, okay? Back in Black! Da-da-da-da. I know Guns N' Roses,
Right.
Sweet Child of Mine, and I know my own culture, and then I also know some George Strait,
Okay. You got
I got a wide
versatility around
range,
here.
but it all come from sports, Manning.
Right.
It came from sports and being in the locker room with different people. And I think that's the greatest benefit of sports and how it can help us into adulthood. And it's also allowed, look at this. Sport is the reason that you and I are on this podcast, right?
Exactly.
You're talking, what, how old are you, 19? 18, 19?
19.
18, young white male, 49-year-old African-American male. We're doing a podcast because of sport.
Right.
It bridges the gap, man, and it brings us all together. So when I hear comments that LeBron James and those guys should shut up and dribble, to me, that's nonsense.
Right.
Athletes can be the most influential people in our society because they have the most people paying attention to them. And I wish more would take the responsibility of speaking up. Now, that doesn't mean that they have all the answers. It's just me that they have a responsibility to say, hey, we might want to look at this a little bit differently.
There's a platform that they have that not the everyday person has, that they are able to express and view what they view and have people listening in that say, man, I think that too, or maybe I don't think that, but that's a new way to think about something. It's the platform that they have that I think that they should use. People are always saying, what he said is, that's not wrong, that's bull, that's this and that. No one's ever going to be right on everything. But that's the point. I mean, it's like someone tweeting who's just a normal person who's tweeting something out that's you're looking at, you're reading it, and you're like, I mean, what is this? It's just some people, you're not going to be right every time. You're not going to say what everyone thinks. Not everyone is going to agree with you on everything. That's how our world is. Our world is divided in so many aspects of life, but to be able to at least portray one aspect that you believe and to have, millions of people listen to that, I think it's important.
Yeah. And before we close, Manning, I want to give you some flowers, young guy. First of all, I'm super proud of you for taking this step. It takes a lot of courage, man, to take action. And I'm proud of you for doing it. I wish you much success. I'm always a phone call or a text away if I can support you anyway. And just keep pushing, man. Keep searching. I've seen you mature so much in the last 2.5, 3 years. It really warms my heart to be a part of your journey, bro. And just keep going, man. Just keep going. I think the sky's the limit. You just keep pushing, okay?
You're gonna get me teary-eyed over here. You're gonna get me reaching for tissues. I don't even listen. You took it right from me. I appreciate you so much. You're someone that I look up to as a mentor, someone who I can, try to resemble, what you've done and put that into my life. And so, I appreciate you. It means the most that, even when I texted you, even when I was trying to shower, you were right there. And I would rather someone be doing that in the middle of me trying to do something than someone not respond for 2 weeks and say, oh, I was busy. Because I know you're busy, but you make time for the people I think that you care about. And I think that's the most important thing is to be able to have those moments, have those times that you can set aside, even if you have the busiest day today, to be able to set that aside for someone, it goes a long way. So I wanted to give you your flowers and tell you how much I appreciate you and how much I appreciate you coming on this podcast with me today, Coach.
No problem, man. Just let me know when you broadcast it, tag me, whatever you're going to do.
Oh, I'm going, it'll be going up in I give it about 30 minutes. I got it about 30, 45 minutes. I'm going to look it over, do a little bit of this, do a little bit of that. I'll make sure. Don't worry. I got you.
Okay, man. I'm proud of you, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Coach. Thank you so much.
I'll see you soon.
See you, Coach.